What's going on, everybody? Kalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you sort of a beginner's guide to the TCL 30XL, giving you some basic tips and tricks for the phone to help you get more comfortable using it. Now, before we go any further, as always, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to learn more about this phone, I will be linking to several other videos about it in the description, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and my favorite accessories for it. But with that being said, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you here is how to change your wallpaper. To do this, what you're going to do is go to Settings. From here, go to Home Screen and Lock Screen. From this menu, go to Wallpapers right up here at the top. And as you can see, we got a couple different options here. You can choose between live wallpapers, photos, and wallpapers that are basically already going to be on the phone. So for this example, we're going to go here. And as you can see, we got a few different preset wallpapers here. So we're going to select one. It's going to give you a preview of your home screen. Go to Set Both. And now the wallpaper has been changed. So pretty simple, not a whole lot to it. Now that was easy enough, but I'm going to show you an even simpler way to customize your wallpaper, as well as some other settings for your home screen. So for this, what you're going to do is press and hold your finger on a blank spot on your home screen like this. And as you can see, this screen's going to show up, and from here you can choose between wallpapers, themes, widgets, and other home settings. So definitely a nice convenient way to really personalize your home screen. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is how to change your system navigation. Now if you look down here on the navigation bar, we pretty much got the classic 3 buttons most Android phones have, but I'm going to show you some other things we can do with it. So to get to these options, what we're going to do is go to Settings. From here, go to Buttons and Gestures. So right here. And in this menu, system navigation is right here at the top. So as you can see, by default, again, we are in button navigation, and if you want, you can switch the buttons around. So right now we got the back button on the left and the recent apps on the right, but if you want, you can switch these around. So now we got recent apps on the left and the back button on the right. The other thing you can do is switch your entire system navigation to gesture navigation. And when you do this, in the navigation bar, the buttons are replaced with this one line. Now, in case you're new to gesture navigation, let me show you how it works. So to go home, instead of pressing a home button, swipe up like this. To go to your recent apps, drag your finger up. And to go back, swipe from left to right, or right to left. So as you can see, gesture navigation is pretty simple, and I'm personally a big fan of it. But that being said, it's not for everyone, and I know a lot of people do prefer the buttons. But if you haven't already, I do recommend trying out gesture navigation for yourself, because who knows, you just might like it. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to change your screen lock. Now if we go to the lock screen right now, you'll see that I personally have a pin, and also the fingerprint scanner. Now you're going to get your pin as soon as you turn on the phone for the first time, but I'm going to show you how you can change some things. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Settings. From here, go down to Security and Biometrics. So right here. And from this menu, there are a couple different things here. First of all, the screen lock is right here. As you can see, by default, it is going to be the pin, but if you want to change it, you can go here. It's going to ask for your current pin, and as you can see, once you put in your pin, you can choose between none, swipe, pattern, pin, or password. So none and swipe are basically no security at all. Pattern is really cool. It used to be really popular back in the day, but it is a little easy to guess, so a lot of people don't really use it now. Pin is pretty much the industry standard, so no matter what phone you have, whether it's a TCL, Samsung, Google, or even an iPhone, pretty much every phone is going to have the pin as the default security setting. And then finally, we got password, which I personally am not a huge fan of it. It's just a little inconvenient to have to type every single time you want to open your phone, but if you really want high security, the password will definitely be a good choice. At the end of the day though, it's really up to personal preference, so definitely play around with them and then decide which one works best for you. Now, like I said before, in addition to the pin, I am using the fingerprint scanner as well, so let me show you how to set that up. So from here, we're going to go back to the main security and biometrics menu. From here, the fingerprint settings are right under the screen lock, so go here. Same kind of thing, it's going to ask for your pin. And as you can see here, you can add up to 5 fingerprints. So of course, to add one, hit add fingerprint. And it's basically just going to have you touch the fingerprint scanner a bunch of times, and that's pretty much that. Now in addition to this phone does have face unlock as well, and it's pretty much the exact same process. Again, it's going to ask for your pin, and it's pretty simple from there. Now we're going to take a look at some sound settings. To get to these, go to Settings. From here, go to Sound and Vibration. And as you can see, first thing up at the top is a few different volumes. Ring volume, pretty self-explanatory. Notification volume, so keep in mind this does include text messages. Media volume, so if you're doing something like watching a video, listening to music, playing a game, that kind of thing. And then finally, alarm volume. From here, you can also turn on silent mode, but you can also do it simply by pulling down the shade like this. From here, you can go to vibrate, or mute, or you can press the volume keys. Hit the drop down right here. And you can change the sounds from here. Under the volumes, you can change your ringtone. So if we go here, you can choose between anything on the phone or a custom ringtone. By default, even when you have your ringtone on, it's also going to vibrate when you get a call. But if you don't want it to vibrate, you can always turn it off. Then we got the notification ringtone, again pretty much the same kind of thing. We got a bunch of presets here, and then the custom ringtone right up at the top. And then finally the alarm, which again works pretty much the same as the other two. Under this we got do not disturb, but the easier way to do it is simply by pulling down the shade, and do not disturb is right here. Then from here, if you go to more sound settings, we got several other sounds you can turn on or off. By default, everything is going to be on, including dial pad tones, screen locking sounds, so like this, touch sounds, and vibrate on touch. So again, all of these are going to be on by default, but if you want to turn them off, you always can. In addition to this, we got emergency alerts right here. They are going to be off by default, but of course you can turn them on if you want. The next thing we're going to go over is how to control which apps can send you notifications. As always, the first thing we're going to do is go to settings. From here, go to notifications. And from this menu, go to manage app notifications. So as you can see, this is basically going to show you all the apps you have, and as you can see, most of them do have notifications on by default. And as you can see from here, you can pretty much turn off whatever you want. But keep in mind, there are some system related notifications that don't show up here, and you can actually turn those off, but don't worry, you're really not going to get those very often. Worst case scenario, you might get it 1 or 2 times if you have an update, but again, in general, most of your notifications are going to come from random apps you download. And keep in mind, of course, the more apps you have, the more notifications you can get. So if you are someone who doesn't really like to get a bunch of notifications, then I definitely recommend checking out this menu and turning off the ones you don't want, because when you have a bunch of notifications, not only can they be annoying, but having a bunch of random notifications can make it easier to miss something important. Now I'm going to show you how to use the dark theme. Now there are 2 different ways to do this. The first way is by pulling down the shade like this, and dark mode is right here. So if you tap this icon, as you can see from this, we are in dark mode. And the second way is by going to your settings. From here, go to display, go to dark mode right here. As you can see, of course, it is currently on, and from this part in the settings menu, you can also automate it. So if we toggle this on, you can have it automatically turn on and off at a custom time. And this is great if you want to have dark mode only turn on at night, for example. Now I'm going to show you a few different color settings for your display. So first things first, go to settings, and from the main settings menu, go to where it says Next Vision. So here we got a couple things that are on by default: image enhancement, video enhancement, game enhancement. I personally recommend just leaving these alone, because all they really do is slightly enhance the image on your display, and there's really no downside to having them on. But of course, if you really want to, you can turn them off here. Under this, we got a couple different features. So first of all, reading mode, probably easier if I just show you. Basically makes the screen look like this. So I guess it's a little bit easier to read. And then there's also eye comfort mode, and this is basically going to filter out some blue light and make it a little bit easier on your eyes, so definitely a nice feature to have at night. And then finally at the very bottom, we got a couple different screen color modes. So if we go here, by default it will be set to vivid, which is basically going to make the colors a little bit more bold and vibrant. Under this we got natural, which is basically going to dull the colors a little bit and make things, as the name suggests, a little bit more natural looking. And then finally we can go to advanced, and this is going to allow you to customize it a lot more. Now I like to keep mine at vivid, but of course it's really up to personal preference, so definitely play around with it and decide for yourself which one you like the best. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to change your screen timeout time. To do this, we're going to go to settings, from settings, go to display, and from the display menu, go to sleep. As you can see, my screen timeout time is set to 30 minutes, which is kind of a long time. I really only do it for these videos, but if you're doing something like reading, for example, or watching a movie, you might actually want it this long. Or maybe you even want to set it to never, but under normal circumstances, if you're not really going to be consuming a lot of content, I feel like 1 or 2 minutes is fine, but it's going to be different for everyone, so you're definitely going to have to play around with it. But just know, for the screen timeout time, you can set it as short as 15 seconds, or have it stay on indefinitely. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to show you is how to turn off your Google feed. Now, in case you don't know what it is, the Google feed is basically this right here. It's basically a news feed that I guess some people must find useful if all these Android phones have it. I personally think it's annoying myself, and I always turn it off. So if you're like me and you never use the Google feed, let me show you how to disable it. So what we're going to do is press and hold your finger on the home screen like this. From here, go to home settings. From this menu, go to where it says smart panel, toggle it off. And now if we go back to the home screen, you're no longer going to see the Google feed. But this concludes my beginner's guide to the TCL 30 XL. Again, if you want to learn more about this phone, I will be linking to several other videos about it in the description, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and my favorite accessories for the phone. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Kalipa's Tech on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, I will see you in the next video.